We've got our sheriffs in the center here, as you see, representing a dozen and a half counties almost, I think, from Pennsylvania. So we appreciate the sheriffs being here with us today. You'll hear from the president of the Sheriff's Association later on in the program. But good morning and welcome to your capital here at the Pennsylvania State Capitol. Welcome, everyone. I'm State Representative Daryl Metcalfe from the 12th District in Butler County, and I believe this is our 12th annual rally now. We have had rallies for many years, and we're excited to start with the program here this morning. And as we rally here today on behalf of defending our Second Amendment, and as we rally here on behalf of defending Article 1, Section 21 of the Pennsylvania Constitution, that makes it very clear that the right of the citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. There are far too many people inside this Capitol and outside that are questioning our right to bear arms and our right to use our arms in defense of ourselves and the state. And you'll hear from some of the legislators today that are fighting to regain ground that's been lost over the years related to the Second Amendment, Article 1, Section 21. But before we get started, we'll invite Ali Hynoski, and Ali has sung for us in years past, and she'll be singing the national anthem. Ali, do you want to use one of these microphones over here? If you can come over to the microphone over here, it might be better for you than the main mic. So, Ali, and I was just at a recent event in the district, and a lot of the folks there didn't know that when the national anthem was being sung that they should salute the flag during that time, and the salute from an average citizen is placing your right hand over your heart, and the salute for a veteran or those in the military is a salute that you would normally see a veteran or actually military personnel making. With that, Ali, can you please sing the national anthem? Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well done.
Young lady has a real gift, doesn't she? What a great voice she's been blessed with. Thank you very much, Ali. We appreciate you being here with us again. And thank you to your dad for bringing you again today. So, Ali Hynoski, thank you. Is Representative Pyle still here? I know Jeff was going to be in and out this morning. I was going to have Representative Pyle, he's the Second Amendment Caucus chair. I was going to have him say a couple words this year. The new chair. Dave Bray is here with us today, and Dave Bray, we met through a mutual acquaintance and friend, and he was willing to come and sing for us today. And before he sings, I wanted to give him a couple of minutes to talk about what he's been doing in the country on behalf of veterans, as a veteran himself, on behalf of our law enforcement and men and women in blue. And he has a song that he wrote that he's going to be singing for us, and another song at the end. So Dave, thank you for being with us, sir. Thank you for your service to our nation, and thank you for the work you're doing to support our veterans and support our men and women in law enforcement. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. So, quick question. Do we have any patriots in the house today? Now, that might be all right for Maryland. That might be all right for New Jersey, New York, Ohio. But this is the great state of Pennsylvania. And I'm going to ask it one more time. Do we have any God-fearing, freedom-loving, flag-waving patriots in the house today? Yeah! As citizens and as patriots, it's important that we understand that the laws and the governance of our land is just as important as our faith and how we guide ourselves personally. The men and women you see behind me are the lawmakers and our police, the men and women who put on the badge every single day and sacrifice their lives and the sake of their own families and their own families' safety for the sake of ours, need to be commended for what they do. So please put your hands together for our law enforcement, please. So the song I'm going to do for you today, can you hear my guitar? Can you hear it? Can we get a little more volume on that guitar? Anybody? So the song I'm going to do for you today is about a fallen police officer. And as these men and women do pay their sacrifices, occasionally they will fall in the line of duty. And when one falls, a last call is given by the dispatch over the radio. And this song is the answer from that fallen officer to his own last call. These are his words from the other side. Give me a little more volume on that. Nothing. Well, you guys are just going to have to be quiet and listen closely. That'll work. Hey, there we go. This song is called Last Call. Man down, and bleeding out. There's no time, so please hear me out. These are the last few words that I'd like to say to you all. This is my last call. Tell my wife I love her and that I won't be home tonight. And thank her for those long, hard years we tried to get it right. Tell her I'll be waiting after she makes it through it all. This is my last call. But ask her to forgive me. Tell her I'm sorry. That I can't be the man that she's gonna need. Tell her I'll be waiting where the winter meets the fall. This is my last call. Tell my children that I love them. Oh, yeah, Daddy always loved them so. Tell them to hold their mother tight and to never let her go. Tell them I'll always be watching, looking over them through it all. This is my last call. But tell them to fight for me. Do what's right for me. Choose the light for me. Don't ever forget me. Tell them I'll always be watching, and I'll be there every time they fall. This is my last call. Those who served beside me and who held that thin blue line, stand tall, stand strong, hold your head up high. I'm sorry I let you down today, but please know I gave my all. This is my last call. So raise a glass for me. Kick some ass for me. Ring a bell for me. Don't ever forget me. I like to think I saved a few good lives, but I couldn't save them all. This is my last call. I said I like to think I saved a few good lives, but I couldn't save my own. This is my last call. Thank them.
Thank you, Dave Bray, USA. We appreciate you sharing your voice with us today, Dave, and your heart and the gift that God's given you. Thank you for singing for us today, and we'll look forward to another song at the end from Dave as we wrap up the rally today. So thank you, Dave, and a fine tribute to our men and women in blue. Thank you for that tribute to them. And as you see, there's many sheriffs standing behind me. We're appreciative of the sheriffs who were able to make time out of their schedule to join us here at the Capitol today on behalf of the work that they do and standing up for the Second Amendment. Thank you, guys and ladies, for being here today. We have members up the sides of the stairs here, and probably other members that haven't made it up onto the stairs that are here in the audience. And I know I saw the Majority Leader, Dave Reed, standing off over the side. We appreciate you coming to join us today, Dave. And one of our our caucus secretary, Donna Oberlander, up front. And we have some senators here with us too. I see Senator Bartolotta here and Michelle Brooks. We also have other senators that plan on being here if they're not already here. Senator Ryan Aument, Senator James Brewster, Senator DeSanto, Senator Eichelberger, Senator Hutchinson I know I saw here, Senator Vogel I saw standing off the side. He's got a good contingent as always from Beaver. We appreciate the guys coming in and ladies from Beaver County on the buses this morning in Butler County. Senator Scott Martin also. Some of the members who are here today or plan on being here if they're not all here already is Representative Barbin, Representative Bloom, Representative Rosemary Brown, Representative Marty Causer, Representative Jim Christiana, Representative Becky Corbin, Representative Linda Culver, Representative Russ Diamond I know I saw back here, Representative George Dunbar, Representative Chris Dush, Representative Eli Ivankovich, Representative Mindy Fee, Matt Gobler I saw on the steps, Representative Mark Gillen, Keith Greiner, Seth Grove, Marcia Hahn, Sue Helm, Dave Hickernell, Kristen Hill, Representative Rich Irvin, Lee James, Representative Barry Joswiak, Representative Rob Kaufman, Representative Dawn Kiefer, Representative Fred Keller, Mark Keller, who you'll be hearing from, Representative Kate Klunk, Representative Jerry Knowles, Representative Bill Kortz, I know I saw here. Representative Dom Costa was off to the side here earlier, if he's still here. Representative Ryan McKenzie, Dave Maloney, Representative Jim Marshall, Representative Kurt Mazur, I know, he's one of our, he's our caucus administrator, and Representative John McGinnis, Brett Miller, Representative Mullery, Representative Ted Nesbitt, Representative Jason Ortita you'll hear from, Representative Tina Pickett, Representative Jeff Pyle planned on being here. I know he had a bill running in judiciary, so he's going to be back and forth. Representative Kathy Rapp I saw, Representative Jack Rader, Representative Mike Reese, Brad Roy, Representative Saccone, you'll hear from him, Representative Chris Sonato, Representative Stan Saylor, Representative Paul Schemmel, Representative Pam Snyder, Representative Kurt Sonny, Representative Greg Statt, Representative Will Tallman, Representative Mike Tobash, Representative Jesse Topper, Representative Judy Ward, Representative Ryan Warner, Representative Park Wentling, and Representative Zimmerman. We also have some freshman members that you'll hear about from Representative Vankovich a little bit later that are joining us here for the first time this year. Our next speaker now is Representative Jason Ortita. Jason?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you guys for being here today. I really appreciate seeing so many people here for the Second Amendment rally. It's my honor to be in front of so many of you here today. I really appreciate it, and I hope that I can count on you for some audience participation today. Can I count on you guys? As the chairman said, I'm State Representative Jason Ortita. I'm the prime sponsor of House Bill 763, which would eliminate the PIC system, the PA instant check system for background checks. And replace it with NICS, the National Instant Check System, like 36 other states in the country. Who here believes they should have to pay a fee to exercise their constitutional rights? That's what I thought. Did you know that taxpayers pay nearly $7 million a year to support this system that can be done by the FBI at no additional cost to the taxpayer? We could use that money to help train additional police officers. Isn't that what we want here in PA? This bill will help protect more citizens throughout the rest of the country. In any given year, there are thousands of records that are not submitted from our state to the federal system, which means that someone who has a PFA against them or committed a crime in Pennsylvania might be able to go to any other state and buy a firearm. Is that what we want? That's what I thought. Remember, this is about protecting our citizens, saving taxpayer dollars, and giving you, law-abiding Second Amendment supporters, their constitutional rights back. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everything that you do. Keep up the good fight.
As I said, some of the legislators that are here haven't been able to make it up to the steps. I know Senator Mike Regan is in the back. Mike Regan is in the back. And I saw Representative Brian Cutler, who's our whip for the Republican caucus, is also here. So thank you to all of you law-abiding citizens that showed up here today to respectfully show your support for the Second Amendment, right? Looking forward to the many bikers that will be showing up at noon to show their support for our freedom today also. So we've got a good crowds coming in here today. So don't let the dissenters discourage you. So we have freedom-loving Americans that are here today, right? Our next speaker is Attorney Joshua Prince, and Joshua has done a great job fighting in the courts for us for preserving our freedom and our right to bear arms. Joshua?
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it in the room. It's a distinct honor and privilege to be here before all of you patriots this morning. Now, I've been tasked with a very difficult job. I've been given 2 to 3 minutes to go over the major cases in the past year. And if any of you know a lawyer, as soon as you put them in front of a speaker or a microphone, that's it. They're done. You're going to be here for a couple hours. So I'm going to really try to keep this short. I picked a couple cases and one issue to discuss with you today. This past year has been a phenomenal year for the Second Amendment and Article 1, Section 21 here in Pennsylvania. Although we've had some setbacks nationally, case law here in the Commonwealth has been very favorable. First case addresses the issue of weapons on school grounds. This was the Gosselin case. And originally, the Superior Court came down with a decision that said you could not possess any type of weapon on school grounds unless it was necessitated by the reason you were on the school grounds. This would mean that a law enforcement officer, for instance, doing a DARE program, could not have his or her firearm with them when they're presenting because it is not necessitated by the reason they are on campus. We challenged that. We got the Superior Court, the entire Superior Court, to reverse that decision and say that a person may legally possess a lawful weapon on school grounds provided it's possessed for a lawful purpose. That was a major victory, major victory. The other case that has a monumental impact is a case from the Federal District Court here in Harrisburg, the Middle District Court. It involved a Second Amendment as-applied challenge to a mental health commitment. This individual had been committed as a juvenile, went on and served our country honorable in the 101st Airborne, possessed machine guns, incendiary devices, grenades, you name it, he had it. Comes back stateside, he is prohibited from being able to possess a firearm in his private life. He works as a state correctional officer. While he's working in that official capacity, he has a firearm on him every day, but as soon as he checks out, he becomes Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and was prohibited. We successfully litigated that case here in the district court. The government in late December appealed it up to the Third Circuit Court of Appeal, and for those of you who don't think changes in administration have an impact on the law, guess what? When Trump took office, the new Solicitor General reviewed the case and directed the Department of Justice to withdraw their appeal. Looks like we have some Trumpers in the room here with us today. Thank you. The other case that I'm going to talk about involves preemption. Firearms Owners Against Crime, FOAC, was instrumental in bringing a challenge in Montgomery County against Lower Merion Township. They had a provision that precluded the possession of firearms in their parks, as well as being able to utilize that firearm, even if it was necessitated by self-defense. We challenged that, and the Commonwealth Court came down with a decision stating, yes, Lower Merion, you cannot regulate, including discharge of firearms on your property. So, but our work is not done, and this is the issue I want to discuss with you, preemption. Right now, we have numerous cities, towns, and other forms of municipalities violating our state preemption, and there is no stick. Even if you're successful, you don't get your attorney's fees or costs back. Even if you suffer harm, you don't get your attorney's fees or costs back. In fact, Harrisburg itself has no less than 7 ordinances that are in violation of state preemption, and they flaunt it. They don't care about it. They actively go out and support and enforce these ordinances. And it's time that we say enough is enough. So I'm going to ask all of you, as you go along today and you meet with different representatives and senators, please tell them to pass state preemption enhancement so that attorneys' fees and costs will be available to those prevailing parties so we can stop these violations of state law. Thank you very much. Daryl.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Joshua Prince, who's been working hard for us on the battlefield and the courtroom. So we appreciate that. Thank you, Joshua. Next, we'll hear from Representative Mark Keller, and Mark is our prime sponsor of the bill to crack down on cities that are thumbing their nose at the preemption law that we have in Pennsylvania. Mark?
Thank you very much. As Josh said, I am the representative who introduced the bill to preempt, the preemption bill. Like each and every one of you, I certainly believe in our Second Amendment, and I think it should not be challenged anywhere in this Commonwealth. I also do not believe that it should be challenged anywhere in this United States of America. Just want you to remember one thing, and that's House Bill 671 that we have passed off the House floor. It is in the Senate right now. We passed it overwhelmingly out of the House. So hopefully we can get it to the finish line and have the governor sign that bill. We would certainly appreciate it. But I truly believe that we need to get this done and get it done this year. I always say third time is a charm. Well, it's the third time that I've introduced this bill. The very first time, the media will tell you, well, it's unconstitutional. No, it's not unconstitutional, folks. What the courts ruled was single subject matter. Unfortunately, when the bill passed and was signed into law originally, and the courts ruled that it was unconstitutional, they were unconstitutional about the fact that single subject matter, not the contents of that bill itself. As a lot of you know what the bill does, it protects us and pays our attorney fees, as Josh has just said, court costs, those type of things. I want you to remember one thing. Our founding fathers and veterans across this generation have risked their lives and shed their blood to secure our freedom, including the right to keep and bear arms. I was wondering if I would get one of those. It's probably the glare off my head. But to be honest with you folks, as we see, violent crime statistics from around the world confirm the safest societies are the armed societies. Citizens deserve the right to own and bear firearms, and their government should never should never deny that right. I encourage all of you never to stop working for our right to bear arms, and I ask that we all work very, very hard to continue that. I want to thank you again for allowing me to have a few words here. It's been an honor, and actually I'm really honored to be able to say a few words in front of such good law-abiding citizens. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Representative Mark Keller. You're now going to hear from Representative Eli Vankovich, and he's going to share with you who are freshman members that are here this year.
Go applaud, go applaud. Thank you. What a great gathering. Friends, how are you today? What was that? That's right. You know, as we look around here in 2017, a lot can be really confusing, right? A lot can be really confusing. Never in history was there a time where we were inundated with so many things that confused us and detracted from things that we've known to be truths for so long. Sometimes thousands and thousands of years, truths that are questioned every day. But isn't it wonderful for us to be able to stand here in this Capitol to reflect on, to reaffirm, and to celebrate our simple right to keep and bear arms? Isn't that a good thing? Because our right to keep and bear arms, tells our government that we can't be bullied around. It tells other nations that if you try to invade the United States, you're going to have a little problem, right? And sometimes we wonder, right? The folks that we send into elected office, what are they thinking? This is such a simple thing. This is such a simple right. This is a time-tested tradition and right that every American is born with. And we send folks into elected office, and sometimes it's easy to get confused. Sometimes it's easy for people to not stand up for the right thing. Well, the folks that I'm going to introduce are people who came in this session and are willing to stand with you on that time-tested right. So I'd like to very briefly represent State Representative Aaron Bernstein, State Representative Bud Cook, State Representative Matthew Dowling, State Representative Jonathan Fritz, State Representative Zach Mako, and State Representative Frank Ryan, and State Representative Justin Walsh. All newly elected members who came here to show you that they stand with you and the people of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Vankovich. We appreciate it. Also joining us today that I've seen up in the on the stairs here, Representative Harry Reedshaw, Representative Karen Boback is here, Representative Rothman, and look forward to finishing up the rally, and other members will be coming in as we conclude later on, so you'll see other members and they can let me know I'm here and I'll announce that they were here also. So we also are going to hear from a young lady from Philadelphia who became a victim of government's ability to regulate and infringe on our right to bear arms, and you're going to hear from Shaneen Allen next. Shaneen?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. So, I want to thank you all for having me here today. Basically, I'm here to make sure that what happened to me don't happen to anyone else. So, I went to New Jersey to get throw my kid a birthday party, actually. I got pulled over. I told the police officer I had my license to carry and my firearm in my purse. Make a long story short, he arrested me for voluntarily giving up information that I thought was the right thing to do. Ended up having to do 48 days in jail, away from my kids. My first time ever getting arrested. Just wanted to protect myself. I bought a firearm because I got robbed twice in South Philly, where I lived, and that just changed my whole life. So now, me protecting myself, me and my kids, that's what I live for. What happened to me can happen to anyone, and that's why I'm standing here today. I've also been putting myself out there, going back and forth to Washington, speaking with Congress, trying to get them to pass this bill. It's the H.R. 38 bill for national reciprocity. This bill is very important, you guys, because if that bill was passed, I wouldn't have been arrested. I wouldn't even had to even thought about doing 11 and a half years for carrying a firearm that I went through a extensive background check to get. To this day, I tell my story is shaking, is bottling every time I say it because I still live through it. And just like Josh said, you can't get them attorney fees back. It was hard for me, it still is, and I just need everyone to support this bill. It definitely needs to get passed. We have Trump in office, it's gonna get passed. Don't sit down and say you're gonna do it and don't do anything about it, because we have the chance to take the Second Amendment back and put it in our hands, so let's do something about it. Call your local officials, let's get it done. I'm a mom, I'm trying to do the best I can, driving back from Philadelphia to Washington, with my own gas money, just to speak to these people and let them know, you can't just sit down and make up bills that don't make sense for people like me and you that work every day. Things happen, and it happened to me just like it can happen to you like that, without even thinking about it. So please do what you can to get this bill passed, H.R. 38 for national reciprocity. It would give me and you the option to go from state to state with your license to carry that you have in your state, just like your driver's license. It makes sense. You shouldn't have to Google it or figure it out or have a friend and hope something won't happen, because that's what happened to me. I didn't know. I thought I was telling the truth, and the truth got me in jail. Ultimately got me here today. So I could be living my life, but I chose to stand up and say something to be a voice for everyone and for myself. So I thank you all. Learn from my mistakes, and please call your officials. Thank you.
Janine, thank you. Thanks for making time to come up with us again. I appreciate it. Thank you, Shanine. We really appreciate you coming up from Philadelphia to share your story with us again. Shanine's been with us at a past Second Amendment rally, and she was available to come up again and offered to come up again this year, and we really appreciate her coming up. And she did ultimately get a pardon from, at the time, Governor Chris Christie. So that's good for the pardon, and certainly a rightful use of it. A young lady who was exercising her right to bear arms to protect herself and her children and fell victim because she crossed over from Philly to New Jersey to go set up a birthday party for her child, being unaware that when she did so that she put herself in peril, and being stopped by a police officer, being truthful, being upfront with that police officer, and then she had the law come down on her in a way that it's not to be used and shouldn't be used against law-abiding citizens. So national reciprocity, we need to get that done. At the state level, we're hoping to pass constitutional carry, which Representative Rick Saccone is the prime sponsor of, and he's going to be your next speaker.
Hello, fellow patriots and freedom lovers! Woo! I am so glad to be here with you today. I know many of you came 2 o'clock in the morning, got up to catch a bus to come here clear from the other side of the state, because you know how important it is. And you came all the way over here to make some noise for the Second Amendment, so let's make some noise! You know how important the Second Amendment is, but a lot of people don't realize that while we sleep, the other side works night and day to try to dilute and take away our Second Amendment. We're not going to let that happen, are we, folks? That's right. So I have a bill, House Bill 170, constitutional carry, we call it. It's a bill that would make a two-tier system in Pennsylvania. You know we're an open carry state. We don't need the government's permission to carry around openly. I carry everywhere. I carry into banks. I carry into grocery stores. I carry everywhere I go. And we don't need the government's permission, but we need the government's permission to put my coat over my weapon. It doesn't make any sense, right? Constitutional carry has been out there. I've introduced this bill now. It's been out there 3 or 4 years, and we can't seem to get it through in this state that we don't need a permit to carry concealed. Now, it'll have a two-tier system so that you can get a permit if you want to take advantage of reciprocal rights in other states while you're traveling. But while you're in Pennsylvania, you won't need that permit. I think that's a fair bill. When you're walking through these hallowed halls today, make sure you tug every legislator's sleeve and tell them we want constitutional carry. It's sweeping the nation. Every other state is passing it. Why can't we pass it here? Some states have even overrode their governor's veto on it, and I think we have enough votes to do that here. Now, I understand, I'll end with this. I understand there's some protesters here that they're trying to compete with us, and maybe they'll be here tomorrow, but we got a message for them, right? And we're going to drive you back. We're going to make you to retreat all the way back to your little safe place, because we'll never surrender the Second Amendment. Are you with me? God bless you, and thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Rick. I thought this was the safe place. The next gentleman that you're going to hear from is our keynote speaker, and he's going to talk to you a little bit, I think, about what makes a safe place. And it's not gun-free zones, it's law-abiding citizens exercising their right to bear arms and being able to defend themselves, their family, and their neighbors. So Dr. John Lott is with us today. Dr. John Lott, Jr., he's an economist and a world-recognized expert on guns and crime. He's president of the Crime Prevention Research Center. He's written 9 books, including More Guns, Less Crime, The Bias Against Guns, Freedomomics, tongue twister for me today. His most recent book is The War on Guns, and he holds a PhD in economics from UCLA, Dr. John Lott. Thank you for being here today, sir.
Thanks very much. It's an honor to be here. I wanted to say, you know, anybody who's read my academic work knows that I think the police are by far the single most important factor for reducing crime. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Arrest rates, conviction rates, probably explain about 40% or so just by themselves in terms of variations in crime rates. But one thing the police understand themselves very well, and that is, even though they are extremely important, they almost always arrive on the crime scene after the crimes occurred, and then that raises the question, what should people do when they're having to confront a criminal by themselves? And police are also probably the group in the United States that most strongly supports private ownership of guns. You look at survey after survey, they support national reciprocity, they support concealed carry, they support private ownership of guns. And the reason is, I think, that they know how important guns are in protecting themselves, and they understand when somebody's having to respond to a criminal by themselves, what's the safest course of action for them. Representative Keller earlier was talking about looking across countries and looking at guns and crime rates. One thing I'll just mention quickly, and that is every single place in the world that's banned guns that we have crime rate data before and after the ban has seen an increase in murder rates. There's not one single place where guns have been banned and even the murder rates remain the same, let alone falling. And it's a general point there, and that is, you know, it's not Washington, D.C. and Chicago, but even island nations, whether it's Jamaica or Ireland or the UK, after guns have been banned, you've seen increases, often very large increases in murder rates. And why is that? It's a simple reason, and that is when you ban guns, or it's true for other regulations generally, you have to ask yourself who's most likely to obey the law. And if the law is primarily obeyed by law-abiding good citizens, not the criminals, so that you disarm law-abiding citizens relative to the criminals, you actually make it easier for criminals to go and commit crimes than it would have been otherwise. They have less to worry about. I mainly wanted to talk about Representative Ortitay's discussion earlier about the PIC system here. He mentioned some of the costs that were involved. It's just not the fee that you have to go and pay the state for processing, but you also have to go and pay the licensed dealers for taking the time to go and conduct the background checks. In Pennsylvania right now, it's about $25 to $40, probably going to go from about $30 to $50 if the state increases in their costs of doing the background checks go up. You know, the question is, who gets stopped by having a $40 or $50 essentially tax on a gun? Well, I would argue, according to my research, it's the people who most benefit from having a gun to go and protect themselves. Poor people who live in high crime urban areas. Shanine, you know, she has kids, she's a single mom, she lives in a relatively high crime area. She'd already faced 2 armed robberies. Why should we impose, if she wanted to go and buy a $300 gun, why should we impose what could be a 13 or 15% tax on her ability to be able to go and get a gun for protection? Here's the bottom line as an economist, what I would say, and that is, if you believe that background checks reduce crime, and I wish it was that easy, the thing is, who should pay for those costs? And as an economist, what I would say, it should be the people who benefit from that action. The law-abiding individual who's going to go out of their way to do a background check on a private transfer of a gun, they're not the criminals. They're not the ones that you have to go and worry about doing it. The people who benefit would generally be the general citizens overall. Why not pay for that then out of general revenue? Why make poor individuals in particular who are trying to go and buy a gun, or people who live in high crime urban areas, bear the entire freight of having to cover that cost? It makes no sense. Take some of that $7 million that the state's having to pay right now to go and conduct the background checks. If you're going to be saving by switching to the NICS system, by going and using part of that to cover people below the poverty level, or people that may be, at twice the poverty level from having to go and pay those costs. Now, one of the things that's come out in recent court action in Pennsylvania is that the PIC system has essentially been used as a partial registration system here, where people who transfer a gun in the state, their records there of purchasing the gun are put into a licensing system. Here's the problem with that. The claim is that registration and licensing is useful for reducing crime. The problem is every place in the United States or around the world that we can look at that's had registration and licensing, they can't point to a single crime that's been solved as a result of that process, whether it's Hawaii or Chicago or Washington, D.C., or Canada that's had registration and licensing on handguns since 1934. They can't point to a single case. In theory, if a criminal uses a gun in a crime and they leave the gun at the crime scene and it's registered to the person who commits the crime, you can go and trace it back to the criminal. The problem is multiple-fold. One is crime guns are very rarely left at the crime scene. And the few times that they're left at the crime scene, the reason why they've been left there is because the criminal's been either killed or seriously wounded, so you're going to catch them anyway. And the few times they are left there, they're not registered to anybody. And the couple times that they are registered, they're never registered to the person who committed the crime. So we go and spend a lot of money keeping track of this registration system there. You at least think that there'd be some debate if there could be hundreds of cases that you could point to where crimes have been solved. But if you can't point to any cases, it raises real issues. In Hawaii, the Honolulu police chief there estimated it costs 50,000 hours worth of police time each year to go and handle the registration process. Since 1960, they hadn't been able to identify one single crime. Hawaii's kind of the ideal experiment. It's an island nation, relatively difficult to bring guns in and out of the state, and yet, despite all that massive resources that could have been used to lower taxes or hire more police or spend more money on education, they spent it, we know policing works. Why have police spend their time doing something they can't solve one single crime, where we know if we let police do traditional policing, lives could be saved, crimes could be deterred by having these gentlemen and other police spending their times and efforts using resources to have them do what we know works there. So this is a costly system that doesn't really produce any benefits and makes it so that the most vulnerable people in our society, poor people who live in high crime urban areas, the ones who are most likely to be victims of violent crime, might be priced out of the ability to go and defend themselves and protect themselves and their families. So I thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Gun-free zones before my committee, so we look forward to that presentation at noon here in the Capitol. We've also had some other members that have been here, as I mentioned, coming through, and wanted to hit a few of their names before we wrapped up here today. Representative Millard, Representative Heffley were here. Representative Brandon Newman was here. Representative Tom Mahaffey, Representative Dan Mao, Senator Mario Scavello, and I believe that should cover most of the members that have been here. Might have missed a couple, but we appreciate all the members' time today and coming to join with the law-abiding citizens here in defense of the Second Amendment today. Now, we came up with a citizen's oath to administer here a few years back, and Sheriff Custer swore everybody in last year, I think it was, to the citizen's oath, and we have my sheriff, Sheriff Mike Sloop from Butler County here today, and we appreciate the work he's doing as president of the Sheriff's Association, and appreciate the work that he did working with his other sheriffs so that they could all make it here today. As I mentioned, we have a couple of dozen sheriffs standing behind me in uniform on the steps here in defense of the Second Amendment today. We appreciate our sheriffs being here today. And we have a bill before my committee that we're hoping to move that successfully through the legislature to reinstall those powers that sheriffs had so many years ago that that have been eroded by the courts over the years, because we need to make sure that our sheriffs are fully able to go after the criminal element when they're in our midst, don't we? Everyone that goes into office, whether it's a sheriff, myself, or President Trump, or even our own governor here in Pennsylvania, when you go into office, you raise your hand, you swear an oath. You swear to uphold and defend the Constitution. And so many elected officials, I don't believe, have even read that document, much less have any intent to defend it. And that was very obvious on the floor years ago in the House when I asked one of the Philadelphia legislators at the time, who now is in Congress, unfortunately, but while he was a state legislator, I asked him if he actually read the Second Amendment, Article 1, Section 21, and he said no. During interrogation on the floor of the House, he said no, he'd not read those two sections of the Constitutions. But he'd sworn an oath to defend the Constitution over and over and over, having been a senior member of the Democratic caucus at the time. So there's a lot of people that are in office that don't even read the documents they're supposed to defend. But the legislators you see here, the sheriffs you see here, we are here to defend the Constitution and the Second Amendment, and Sheriff Sloop is here to administer the citizen's oath to defend the Constitution today. Thank you, Sheriff Sloop.
Thank you, everybody. On behalf of the sheriffs present from Berks, Fayette, Beaver, Butler, Bradford, Dauphin, Forest, Columbia, Chester, Crawford, Montour, Warren, Cumberland, Indiana, Sullivan, Union, and the other 51 sheriffs that couldn't be here, thank you. We are your gun-toting, gun-protecting, Second Amendment lovers. Thank you. It's been an honor to be the president of the association, and I hear this, oh, I'm doing a good job, I'm doing a good job. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the guys that are doing a good job. Thank you to you guys. So I'll tell you what, why don't we all say this? I'll do it as an oath, and you repeat it. All right. Come on, that was funny. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear allegiance to the same, and I will discharge the duties of my citizenship with fidelity. So help me God. God bless you.
See, I always enjoyed those old Western movies, and to have a sheriff swearing us in, I was like, he's creating this huge posse, and we're going out to get the bad guys, right? So thank you, Sheriff Sloop. We really appreciate it. We do have Representative Justin Walsh here. I don't know if I'd read his name off, and Senator Stefano's here. And our speaker's here. Mike Turzai is also here. Mike, you want to say a couple words to the crowd before we have our last number by Dave Bray?
Hey, two big rounds of applause. First of all, for the Second Amendment, protect it. And second of all, how about our champion, Daryl Metcalfe? This guy deserves a huge round of applause. You know, the founders knew what they were doing when they made sure they were protecting our rights to bear arms. They did. And I have to tell you, nobody Nobody has done a better job working with the everyday folks out there than our chair, Daryl Metcalfe, and our team. Because folks, we have held off. Think about all the stuff we've held off in terms of taking away your rights with respect to the Second Amendment. This team here, this team in the Capitol, Republicans and Democrats who recognize the right to bear arms, we have held off all of those attacks or grabs with respect to taking away those rights. And secondly, the person and team that have been making sure that we protect Second Amendment rights on a local level is also here, because we find that municipalities keep trying to take away those rights, and we think that on a state level it should be controlled at a state level to make sure we protect those constitutional rights, which is why we sent the preemption bill over to the Senate. And I have to tell you, we're going to get it back onto the governor's desk like we did before. We're going to get it back on the governor's desk. So very briefly, just Chairman Metcalfe, thanks for all you do, and to all of our members and your team here, thank you for coming to the Capitol today. Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you, Speaker Mike Turzai. We appreciate you making time, Mike, to come out and say a few words and join us today. We're going to have another number done by our musician who came with us today, with Allie also, who is another musician. And Dave came here separately invited. We appreciate him being here and all the singing he's been doing on behalf of veterans and law enforcement and patriotism around the country, and made time to be here. He's right from Pennsylvania, from York County, so a hometown guy. We appreciate Dave coming up to the Capitol today. Dave Bray, USA.
It's an honor to be here, and thank you so very much for allowing me this opportunity to be in this sort of hallowed piece of ground and sing this song especially. Many people don't know, but this song started out as a prayer, and I'm going to sing the prayer into it. So this is God Bless America. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us all be grateful for our land that's still free. Let us all swear allegiance to our land that's so fair, as we raise up our voices to the air in this solemn prayer. God bless America, this land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with your light from above. And from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam, God bless America, my home, sweet home, my home, sweet home, my home, my home, sweet home.
What a voice. Thank you, Dave, for sharing your gift with us today. Thank you for such inspiring renditions of the music that you presented today. And God bless America. So, thank you to Dave, U.S. Navy veteran. We appreciate your service. We appreciate your continued service to our vets, to our law enforcement, to our nation. Thank you, Dave. We have another veteran that's been my teammate. We've been kind of a tag team in putting together this rally for the last 12 years. Mr. Kim Stolfer, we're from Firearm Owners Against Crime. Kim is here today. Veteran, Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine, so we appreciate your being here today again, Kim. These hats have distracted me. They weren't part of the program. They just keep coming up. Every so often a hat comes up. But we got the right people have the hats. So we have a certificate here to present a Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 380, and that's given by Ace Sporting Goods from Washington, PA. And it's just always a pleasure to have a drawing for a gun at the People's Capitol while we're defending the Second Amendment. And Ace Sporting Goods has been a stalwart supporter of our efforts here, and we really appreciate the owner there and the effort that the Ace has given us to support the Second Amendment in this way and making this sacrifice of his own and his store's own to present this on today. So we'll have that drawing. Kim Stolfer has the container with the secret names. I think we need a law enforcement officer to draw that so it's trusted.
Close your eyes. Come on, close your
eyes. Well, I think he's going to deputize Shanine maybe. So Shanine's going to make that drawing. Shanine, would you like to read the name?
The numbers, right? Ticket number 123674. Who be that? Who that? Hey.
Thank you, Shanine. Mike, the deputy's ceremony will be in my office with you and Shanine swearing her in after. So, congratulations, sir. To your ticket, 123. I need the glasses for this. 123674, 123674. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Thanks for being here today. There's going to be a lot of activity at the Capitol. Many of you already are going to be on teams and working your ways through the halls and talking with legislators and their staff today, advocating for the bills that you've heard talked about here today from the representatives that presented those bills today. We appreciate your effort because it's the effort of citizen lobbyists like yourself that ultimately have the greatest impact and help us to move things in the right direction in this Capitol. So as you hear the noise from other forces here today, I think one of them was already taken into custody earlier, so maybe they'll take a few more into custody. But thank you for coming to your Capitol today. Thank you for taking this time out of your work week to be here at your Capitol. You have to be out there actively holding your government accountable. The government is we the people, isn't it? We the people have a duty. It was mentioned in the oath that Sheriff Sloop gave. You have a duty as a citizen to uphold and defend your Constitution. Thank you for being here today to do that. And anything that we can help you to do that as we move forward, please don't hesitate to contact me or many of my colleagues who you saw here today from the House or Senate, because we're here to stand and fight on your behalf, on behalf of our Constitution, on behalf of the future generations that are going to depend on us passing on the freedom that God's blessed us with here in the United States of America. Everyone have a great day at the Capitol. Thank you for coming. Take care.